The stars burned cold above the battlefield. Ships drifted like broken bones through space, fire and wreckage painting the blackness with light. War had raged for years, too long, many said, and it had reached every corner of the galaxy. The Kraylan Dominion, a brutal and powerful empire, had almost crushed the galactic concord. Many planets had fallen, hope had nearly died. But then came Earth. Humanity had been late to space, but quick to learn. Their machines were strange, their tactics unpredictable, and above all, they had something the Kraylan did not: Commander Elias Wren. Elias was not the largest man, nor the strongest, but his mind worked like a weapon sharper than any blade. In less than a year, he had led the Concord's fleets to victory in 3 major battles. He had studied the Kraylan, found their weak spots, and hit them hard. No one expected him to win, but he did. And now the war was over. The final battle had ended near a shattered moon orbiting Drylith 7. The Kraylan fleet, caught in a trap, had been destroyed. Their leaders surrendered. Peace talks began. Elias stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Vigilant Star, watching the broken remains of enemy ships float by. The stars, once red with fire, were now quiet again. "Commander Wren," a voice said through the comms. It was High Consul Tirava, an elder of the Concord Council. Her voice was calm, full of respect. "The war is over, because of you." Elias did not smile. He looked tired, his dark eyes shadowed by weeks without sleep. "Because of all of us," he replied. Still, the council had already decided. Elias would be honored, a hero. And heroes in their culture received rewards. A day later, he was invited to the central world of Arkan 6, home to the Concord's seat of power. The world was bright, full of strange plants and silver towers that reached into the sky. Huge crowds cheered as Elias walked through the capital, though he barely noticed. He was thinking of the soldiers who hadn't returned. That evening, the council held a grand ceremony. Music played, lights shone, speeches were made in many languages. Then, at the end, Tirava stepped forward. "We offer our deepest thanks," she said, raising a hand toward Elias. "And as is our ancient tradition, we offer a final token of honor, a gift to the victor." 2 guards brought forward a tall, quiet figure wrapped in a soft blue cloak. A woman. Her skin was a pale silver blue, and her eyes were like glass, clear, empty, and tired. Around her neck was a metal collar. She didn't speak. She didn't look up. "She is Niari," Tirava explained. "From the world of Vesrin, once taken by the Kraylan, a rare survivor, trained in obedience. She is yours now to serve or to free, as you choose." The hall fell silent. Elias stared at the woman. She did not meet his gaze. She had clearly been through much. Her steps were careful, as if afraid of punishment. He could see how the others in the room watched him, waiting for him to accept. They thought this was an honor, a prize, but he saw no honor in it. Slowly, Elias stepped forward. He reached out, not to take her hand, but to touch the collar. He pressed the release. With a soft click, the collar opened and dropped to the floor. Woman gasped. She looked up, confused. The crowd murmured. Some were surprised. A few were angry. Elias turned to the council. "She is not a prize," he said firmly. "She is a person, and no person should be given as a gift." Tirava's face twitched. "Commander, this is our custom." "Then it is a custom that must change," he replied. "If we fought this war to stop the Kraylan, then we cannot become like them." There was silence again. But then, slowly, someone began to clap. Low, steady sound. It was Admiral Hanjay from the Orion front. Then another joined, and another. Within moments, the hall was full of applause, not for the council's tradition, but for the man who had the courage to say no to it. The woman looked around, still unsure. Elias turned to her. "You're free," he said gently. "What's your name?" She hesitated. Her voice was quiet, unused. Sira, she whispered. He nodded. Sira, you are free to go or to stay. Whatever you choose. Sira looked at him for a long time. For the first time in years, someone had asked her what she wanted. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from something else. Hope. I will stay, she said softly, but not as property. Elias smiled. Of course not. That night the council met in private. Some were furious, others thoughtful. Change had begun, and not all liked it. But the people had seen it, and the story had already begun to spread. The human commander who freed his gift. The war hero who chose mercy. In the stars above, the wreckage of war still floated. But among the ruins, something new had started to grow. Not just peace, but something stronger. Respect. Sira stood on the garden deck of the Vigilant Star, staring at the stars. It had been 3 days since Commander Elias Wren had freed her. 3 days since the heavy collar had fallen from her neck. It still felt strange. Being able to breathe, without fear, to walk without someone pulling her by a chain. The sky above the ship's garden was clear, filled with stars. But to Sira it was all still a little scary. She didn't know where she belonged. Behind her, footsteps approached. She turned slowly. It was him, Elias Wren. He wasn't wearing his full uniform today, just a simple black coat with silver trim. His dark hair was a little messy, and his eyes looked kind, but tired. You couldn't sleep? He asked. Sira shook her head. Too quiet. Elias smiled softly. I know that feeling. They stood in silence for a moment. The garden around them was small but peaceful. It was part of the ship's recreation deck, full of green plants, soft lights, and the soft hum of the engines far below. Sira sat on the edge of a stone bench. Her hands touched the smooth surface. I've never seen a place like this before. This garden was added for the crew, Elias said. A place to think, rest, breathe. She nodded slowly. We didn't have places like this. Not after the Kralin came. Elias sat beside her. He didn't ask questions right away, he just waited. That, Sira noticed, was something unusual. Most people talked too much. This human listened. Finally, she spoke. I was born on Vesrin. It was a quiet world, full of light and lakes. My people were thinkers. We studied the stars. We had no armies, only science. We believed understanding was stronger than war. What happened? Elias asked softly. The Kralin came. They didn't want our knowledge. They wanted workers, builders, slaves. They destroyed our libraries, took our children, broke our minds. Her voice cracked, but she kept going. They trained some of us to be obedient, silent. The rest, they disappeared. I don't know if anyone from my world survived. Elias looked down. I'm sorry. She nodded, but her voice was steady now. You didn't do it. You stopped them. He looked up at the stars. Maybe. But the war cost so much. And now the conquered celebrates like everything is fixed. But it's not. Not really. Sira looked at him with quiet surprise. She had expected him to be proud like the others in the council. Instead, he sounded tired, like someone who had seen too much. Do you trust the conquered? She asked. He didn't answer right away. I trust some people, he said at last. But the conquered is made of many worlds. Some care only about power, not peace. They offered you to me like an object, and they didn't even think it was wrong. Sira nodded. That is what frightened me most. They didn't seem cruel, just blind. They both sat in silence again. Then Elias stood. Sira, I want you to have your own quarters. A place that's yours with a door you can lock and no one will enter without your permission. Her eyes widened. You would do that? You are not my servant. You're not a guest. You are a person with rights. You choose where you want to go. She hesitated. And if I choose to leave? He looked at her without blinking. Then I'll help you get wherever you want to go. Her voice was almost a whisper. You are not like the others. He gave a small smile. I hope not. Later that day, the ship docked at a station near the Nyari ruins on Vesrin. Sira had asked to go. She wanted to see what was left of her people's home. Elias sent a small team with her but stayed close by. The planet's surface was quiet now, green again, but broken. Buildings lay in ruins. Statues were cracked. A once great city had fallen into silence. Sira stepped through the rubble with careful feet. She remembered streets that once sang with music, lights that danced in the air, and voices filled with laughter. Now there were only ghosts. Then she stopped. At the center of a broken square, part of the old university still stood. Its roof was gone, but under the debris she found something, an old crystal archive half buried. Her hands trembled as she brushed dust from its surface. What is that? Elias asked from behind her. She turned to him, her eyes wide. This holds knowledge, data, writings from before the fall. If this still works, it could contain everything my people lost. Carefully, she activated it. A soft light glowed. A faint hum. It was alive. Her voice shook. This is the memory of my people. They brought the archive back to the Vigilant Star. Elias ordered the engineers to help restore it under Sira's guidance. As the days passed, she began to change. She stood straighter, spoke more clearly. Her eyes no longer held fear, but fire. She began to teach. The crew listened. She explained Nyari science, history, philosophy. Some things they understood, others amazed them. The Nyari had once developed forms of energy control that Earth scientists had never dreamed of. And Elias? He listened most of all, but not everyone was pleased. Across the stars and quiet halls of the Concord, whispers began to grow. Some council members were angry. They called Elias a traitor to tradition. They said the Nyari woman was dangerous, her mind full of forbidden secrets. Others, especially those who had benefited from the old system of rewards and tribute, feared change. How can he allow her to speak? One counselor said. She was given as a gift. He refused the gift, said another. He made us look weak. They watched closely. They waited for a reason to act. Back on the Vigilant Star, Sira stood once more in the garden, but now she was different, stronger, wiser. Elias walked beside her. You've given my people a voice again, she said. No, Elias replied. You gave it to yourself. I just gave you space to speak. Sira looked at him. Then maybe it's time more people listened. And as the stars turned, above them, both knew the real war might not be over. It had just begun. The memory crystal from Vesrin pulsed with soft blue light in the research bay of the Vigilant Star. It was old, older than most of the crew had ever seen, but somehow still working. The moment Sira activated it, strange symbols and patterns began to dance in the air. This is Nyari science, she explained as the crew watched closely. Long ago, we built ships that didn't need fuel, just gravity and light. We bent space around us, not through force, but through harmony. Commander Elias Wren stood behind the group, listening silently. His ship's engineers were fascinated. Some of the Nyari technology made no sense to them. It seemed too advanced, even impossible. But Sira didn't speak like a teacher showing off. She explained slowly, carefully, like someone sharing a secret too important to rush. After a few days of work, the engineers managed to rebuild a small piece of the Nyari device, a sphere that shimmered when touched. It had no power source, no wires. But when Elias walked near it, the sphere floated into the air and rotated, glowing softly. It responds to energy fields, Sira explained. Every living thing has one. The Kralin never understood this. They took our bodies, but they didn't care about our minds. The ship's science officer, Lieutenant Maritain, shook her head in amazement. If this works, this could change everything. Elias said nothing at first. Then he turned to Sira. Is there more? Sira looked down. Yes, but it is deeper. The data is protected. It needs a key. An old code from our leaders. And I am not sure if I can unlock it alone. Then we find someone who can, Elias said simply. 2 days later, the Vigilant Star changed course. They headed for a small unmarked moon called Kalen's Eye. It was cold and quiet with no cities, only caves and ruins. According to the data, a small group of Nyari elders may have escaped here long ago. As they landed, Elias walked beside Sira. She wore a new outfit, simple but strong, with soft blue fabric and silver threads. Her eyes were clearer now. She no longer looked like a shadow of the past. I don't know if they'll be here, she said, her voice tight. We try anyway, Elias said, even if there's only one left. They explored the icy caves for hours. Then, in a large chamber filled with glowing stones, they found her, an old Nyari woman, tall and thin, with hair like silver silk. She stepped from the shadows with slow, graceful steps. Sira gasped. Elder Lysira, the elder smiled. Sira, you were only a child the last time I saw you. Tears filled Sira's eyes. She bowed her head. I thought you were gone. As did I, Lysira said gently. She turned her gaze to Elias. And you must be the human who gave her back her name. I only did what was right. Elias, replied Lysira, studied him with sharp eyes. That is not a small thing. Many say they do what is right. Few actually do it. They brought the elder back to the ship. With her help, the deep code in the archive was unlocked. And what they found shocked even Elias. It wasn't just energy technology. The archive held designs for communication systems that didn't use satellites, engines that could fold space without warp drives, shields that worked by changing light itself. It's not just knowledge, Sira whispered. It's a future. A better one, Elias agreed. If we can use this, we won't need giant armies, we won't need war at all. But as they began to share their findings with trusted scientists, the problems began. Back on Arkan 6, the conquered council sat in silence. This is dangerous, said one counselor, slamming a hand on the table. Human Ren is giving alien technology to the public. He is causing unrest. Another nodded. There are riots on 3 trade worlds. People are demanding we stop using tribute systems. They say Elias Ren proved we are no better than the Kralin. High Consul Tirava listened quietly. We trained him to fight, another voice said. We did not give him power to lead us into rebellion. Tirava finally spoke. He may be more dangerous than we realized. And in the shadows of the council chamber, someone listened. Not a Concord leader, not a politician, a Kralin agent. The Dominion may have lost the war, but they were not truly defeated. Their spies had moved underground, and now, hearing that a Nyari had returned and was teaching forbidden knowledge, they knew they had to act. The Vigilant Star received a message, unknown sender. No location, just 5 words. She is not safe. Run. Elias read it twice. Then he called for full alert. An hour later, they were attacked. 2 ships appeared from behind a dark asteroid belt. Kralin stealth craft. Fast, silent, deadly. They fired on sight. The Vigilant Star shook as explosions rocked its outer hull. Shields flared, lights dimmed. Sira, get to the secure room, Elias shouted as the crew rushed to stations. No, she said firmly. I can help. Elias hesitated, then nodded. Engineering, go! In the engine room, Sira worked quickly with Mara and the team. The shield won't hold, Mara shouted. I'm not going to use the shield, Sira said, reaching for the Nyari sphere. She placed it at the ship's core and began a series of precise hand movements. The sphere responded, glowing, spinning. Faster. What are you doing? Mara asked, confused. Trust me, Sira said. This is Nyari defense. Not by force, but by flow. Outside the ship, something strange happened. The Kralin blasts began to bend away, like light curving around a mirror. The ship was no longer blocking attacks, it was slipping between them. In the command room, Elias watched the battle shift. "They can't hit us," his officer whispered. "It's like we're dancing between the fire." Moments later, the Vigilant Star fired a single pulse. One Kralin ship exploded, the other jumped into hyperspace and fled. Silence fell. They had won, not by power, but by knowledge. Later, Elias stood with Sira in the garden once more. Stars above, soft light below. "You saved us," he said. "You saved me first," she replied. He nodded. "But now others will come. They'll be afraid of what we're building." "Then we show them," Sira said. "Not with war, but with light." Elias looked at her. "Then let's build something they can't destroy." And together they began to write the future. The galaxy had started to whisper, not just about the war or the Kralin defeat, but about something new, something different. A name repeated across stations, planets, and even in underground networks. Sira of the Nyari. And with her name, another. Commander Elias Wren. They were not being talked about as warriors, but as builders of a new idea. A future where knowledge mattered more than weapons, where no being could be owned, where ancient wisdom could stop future wars. But not everyone believed in peace. Some feared it. Elias walked down the main corridor of the Vigilant Star, now more than just a warship. The walls were lined with new panels. Nyari, designs for energy, flow. Doors opened with a soft light, not steel grinding. The ship felt alive. He entered the command deck. The lights dimmed slightly as the stars outside shimmered. Sira was already there working beside Lieutenant Mara. The memory archive floated nearby, showing diagrams and data in the air. "We finished the test," Sira said, turning toward Elias. "The space-folding device works. We can now cross 10 light-years in 1 minute." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Without a jump drive?" Sira smiled. No fuel, no strain, just flow and balance. Elias stepped closer to the display. "If this goes public, it could change travel across the galaxy." Mira nodded. "And it would break the grip of the fuel trade alliances. That's why they'll fight us." Elias sighed. "They already are." He pointed to a message blinking on the screen. "Confidential order from Conquered High Command. Cease Nyari technology testing. Surrender research data." "Immediate inspection authorized." Sira frowned. "They want to stop us?" "They're afraid," Elias replied. "Afraid that if people have power in their own hands, they won't need the council anymore." Sira crossed her arms. "But we're not building a weapon, we're building hope." "They can't see the difference," Elias said. "To them, anything they don't control is a threat." He turned to his crew. "We have a choice to make." Mara looked up. "You mean, run?" "No," Elias said. "We go public. We show everyone what this tech can do. We let the people decide." They prepared a live transmission to all Concord-linked systems. Elias stood before a camera, not in full military uniform, but in a simple gray coat. Sira stood beside him, proud and calm. "This is Commander Elias Wren," he began. "You know me from the war. But this message is not about war, it's about peace and truth." He stepped aside as Sira came forward. "I am Sira of the Nyari. My people were nearly erased by fear and greed, but we are not gone. Our knowledge survived. It is not a weapon, it is a light. And now we want to share it." Then Elias returned. "We were told to stop, ordered to give up what we found. But we won't, because it belongs to all of us. We are not here to rule. We are here to rise." The message ended. It spread faster than anyone could stop it. The reaction was instant. On many planets, people cheered. Scientists called it a new age. Workers in fuel mines protested, demanding Nyari technology for all. Students made banners saying, "Let knowledge be free." But others were angry. On one Concord world, Ships loyal to high command locked down communication centers. On another, Nyari supporters were arrested. And above it all, in a dark chamber on a distant station, a shadowy voice gave a new command. Destroy the Vigilant Star. End this before it grows further. The attack came without warning. 3 warships, fast, powerful, and masked by stealth, dropped out of folded space near the gas cloud of Muriel Drift. The Vigilant Star had gone there for field testing, thinking it was safe. Inside the ship, alarms rang. Multiple contacts, Mara shouted. Unmarked, no ID codes. They're jamming us, said the tech officer. No outgoing signal. Elias gave orders quickly. Shields up, move away from the cloud edge, ready countermeasures. Sierra stood at the energy control panel. They're not here to talk, are they? No, Elias said, eyes narrowing. They're here to erase us. The enemy ships opened fire. Beams of red light tore through space. One blast hit the rear shield, shaking the ship. Shields, down to 60%. Sierra closed her eyes. I can activate the Nyari defense again, but it needs more time. Do it, Elias said. Buy us a minute, Mara. The ship turned sharply, moving between gas clouds. But the enemy was fast, and they had numbers. Another blast struck. Rear engines hit, someone shouted. Sierra pressed her hands to the core sphere. The lights on the ship shifted. Soft blue replaced harsh red. The ship's energy field began to shimmer. The next enemy blast passed through them like hitting smoke. They can't lock on, Mara said, amazed. Sierra focused harder. But I can't hold it long, we need to finish this. Elias looked at the enemy formation. Target the lead ship. Focus all power. But they're stronger, an officer said. Elias didn't blink. They're bullies, and bullies fall hardest when you hit first. The Vigilant Star released a powerful energy pulse, not a weapon in the normal sense, but a Nyari surge. It bent space in front of the enemy's ship just as it fired again. The enemy's own shot curved straight into one of its allies. Explosion. Confusion. Elias smiled grimly. Now. The Vigilant Star moved forward, not to run, but to divide the enemy. Using Nyari flow tech, it slid between blasts, forcing the enemy to shoot carefully or risk hitting each other. In less than 5 minutes, it was over. 2 enemy ships. Destroyed. The third fled. Silence. In the quiet that followed, Elias sat in the garden again. His coat was torn, his face tired, but his eyes were calm. Sierra joined him. They will come again, she said. Yes, he replied. They will lie. They will say we're dangerous. He nodded. But we are not afraid anymore, she added, softly. No, Elias said, looking at the stars. We're not. And the galaxy saw what we did today. That matters more than any battle. A small wind moved through the garden trees. Somewhere far away, someone replayed the broadcast. A child asked a question. A teacher found a new lesson. A prisoner dreamed of freedom. The fire of war had passed. But the fire of memory was still burning, brighter than ever. Across the settled stars, the great signal from the Vigilant Star kept echoing. Some called it the light of Nyari. Others called it rebellion. Either way, every home port heard the same clear promise. Knowledge belongs to everyone, and no living being should be owned. The words divided worlds. On peaceful moons, children painted bright spirals on school walls and wrote, "Flow, not force." On factory planets that mined star drive fuel, owners shouted that Elias Wren would ruin trade and leave them starving. In the dark reaches where the Kralin Dominion still hid, spies whispered a single hope. Let the conquered tear itself apart, and our empire will rise again. Rising lines in the sand, Commander Elias stood in the Vigilant Star's strategy room with a small group of loyal captains. A holomap glowed between them, showing blue dots, ships that had pledged to the new way, and red dots, fleets still loyal to the old order. We're outnumbered 3-1, said Captain Hanjay, tapping the red icons near the galactic. Corsi, High Command called you a traitor and ordered every patrol to bring us in. If they corner us, they won't, Elias answered, calm but firm. Because the people on those ships have ears and hearts. Many of them watched our broadcast. They only need a reason to stand with us. Sierra stepped forward, her silver blue eyes shining. Then let's give them one more. A meeting, open, honest. A place where anyone may vote on a new charter for the conquered. Hanjay frowned. High Command will never allow it. Then we hold it somewhere they cannot block. The signal, Sierra said, pointing to the map. Near the center of the galaxy swirled a bright ring of light. The Ethon Rift, a natural beacon strong enough to drown any jammer. We call every ship, every world. Let the whole galaxy watch. Elias nodded. Send the invitation. We make our stand at the rift. Embers of an old empire. While messages flashed outward, another meeting happened in secret. A Kraylan war council on a broken moon. The Kraylan admiral, scales dark as night, slapped a claw on a cracked table. The humans argue. The Concord splinters, we strike now. His spy, cloaked and trembling, warned him, but the Nyari woman, she bends space, their ship cannot be hit. Every shield has an edge, the admiral growled. Their focus is the rift. We meet, them there with all that remains of our grand fleet. One last blaze and the galaxy will fear us again. A meeting in light days later, the Ethan Rift glowed like a giant ribbon across space. Thousands of ships, cargo scows, sleek research craft, weather-beaten patrol frigates, formed a vast circle around the rift. No guns were aimed. Every vessel had agreed to hold fire until the vote. Hollow relays stitched them into one giant conference hall. On the Vigilant Stars Bridge, cameras projected Elias and Sierra into that hall. Faces of 100 species looked back. Human, Bryn stone skins, Shava feather crests, and even a few bold Kraylan civilians who had fled their own rulers. Elias spoke first, using slow, steady words. We fought a long war to stop tyranny, he said. Yet we kept a custom that treated people like trophies. I broke that chain and many of you cheered. But cheering is not enough. We must write a rule no ruler can twist. Every sentient being is free. He stepped aside. Sierra's voice followed, soft but carrying through every speaker. My people lost our planet because our knowledge frightened conquerors. I stand here to offer that knowledge to everyone. To share is to grow. To hide is to invite fear. Will you choose light over shadow? A ripple went through the crowd. Some captains called for an immediate vote. A gray-furred traitor raised a digital placard that read, "Yes." Others hesitated, hands half lifted. Then alarms screamed, "The last." Assault red icons poured from hyperspace. Kraylan warships more than anyone expected. They didn't hail. They fired. The fleet around the rift panicked. Some ships tried to scatter. Others raised shields. A few, still under old order admirals, angled their weapons toward the Vigilant Star, claiming Elias had lured them into a trap. Chaos threatened to drown the dream before it began. Stay with us, Elias shouted into the net. If we scatter, the Kraylan win. Hold the line, protect each other. But the enemy pressure was brutal. A Concord cruiser exploded. A mining barge spun out, engines aflame. The circle wavered. Sierra touched the Nyari, core sphere at her station. Blue light coursed through the Vigilant Star and leaped to linked ally vessels. One by one, friendly ships slid into flow formations, their hulls shimmering with Nyari harmonics. Enemy beams curved, missing by meters. Across open channels, crew after crew saw the impossible defense and regained hope. A young frigate captain hailed the net. We copy the pattern. All ships tune field generators to Nyari frequency 5, in Nayu. Minutes, half the fleet wore the same blue glow. Beams meant to kill now bent harmlessly away. The Kraylan advance slowed, confused, angry, and suddenly unsure. Elias seized the moment. Merge formation Delta. Aim for their flagship. Dozens of ships locked trajectories. The Vigilant Star led, weaving through fire like wind through reeds. They reached knife range of the Kraylan command ship. Instead of torpedoes, Sira released a Nyari pulse, a bright wave that sang through space. The pulse carried a simple pattern: peace, openness, choice. Kralin bridge crews heard it not in words but in feeling. Some lowered weapons. Others, hardened by fear, tried to fight on. But their own engines faltered, no longer aligned to destructive will. The Kralin admiral faced mutiny. Officers refused to obey. In rage, he aimed his supercannon at the rift itself, willing to tear space apart. Elias saw the power spike. One shot will collapse the beacon, Mara warned. Billions could be cut off. No collapse. Elias answered. We turn his force. Sira's fingers danced on the console. The vigilant star shifted its flow field, catching the first blast like a river catching sunlight. Energy wrapped around the hull, skipped along blue lattices and arced back, straight into the Admiral's own cannon. A white flash. Silence. When vision cleared, the Kralin flagship was drifting, engines dead, guns cooling. The rest of the enemy fleet powered down, surrender lights flickering. Cheers erupted across every channel, writing the future. With danger past, the great conference reconvened, this time with Kralin officers among the listeners, heads bowed but present. The vote proceeded ship by ship, name by name. Screens tallied green lights for yes, red for no. The final count was overwhelming, 92% in favor of the new accord. Its first 3 lines were spoken aloud for all to hear. No sentient being may be bought, sold, or claimed as property. All cultures may share knowledge freely, without fear of conquest. Defense is the duty of the many, not the privilege of the few. In that moment, the conquered was reborn. Afterglow. Weeks later, a quiet ceremony took place on the open deck of a new, orbital station near Vesrin. A young Nyari sapling was planted in a ring of soil, green against silver walls. Sira pressed her palm to the fresh earth. Our roots begin again. Crowds from many worlds watched. A conquered official stepped forward with a medal shaped like the rift spiral. Commander Elias Wren, accept. Elias raised a hand. Give it to the children who will tend this tree. They deserve the honor more. The official, surprised, placed the medal around the sapling instead. Laughter and soft applause spread. Later, in the station's small garden, Elias and Sira walked side by side. You turned a weapon into a song, he said quietly. You gave me the chance, she replied. And together we gave the galaxy a choice. Elias looked up at the stars, now calm. There will still be problems. Old fears linger. Then we keep planting trees, Sira said with a gentle smile. One root at a time. A gentle breeze rustled the young leaves. Above, trading ships and research vessels moved along new, fuel-free paths carved by Nyari science. And in every cabin where the story was told, people whispered a simple lesson. When someone breaks a chain, the sound can echo across the universe. The stars shone on brighter than before.